host at Friday 2 a.m. How are you? I hope you've been well. I'm gonna start this new episode, our number 4, with a quote. It is always an accident that saves us. It is someone we have never seen. It's a quote by James Salter. And I think it's such a beautiful quote. To start this conversation about people and about interactions and about the notion of being alone versus being lonely, or being lonely not doesn't have to be a versus being alone. So I'm gonna start this talk, this episode, by reading something that I actually went through a while back. And at the time, it was so mm, hurtful, and also I understood so much out of it that I felt like I needed to put it on paper just to get it outside. So it goes like this. I really wanted to be friends with this girl. She had this calmness and kindness about her. She was funny too, which was always a plus. As joyful as they were our interactions, she just wouldn't be friends with me, no matter how hard I tried to be supportive. And oh, how many were the times I would come home talking about how that's it, how I know she's not my friend, and I would hate on her backwards and forwards until I would find myself sitting alone at the kitchen table while my partner would be long asleep. Then somehow I would be forgiving her for whatever perceived betrayal, again and again. One day, I learned she was always going to restaurants, coffees, whatevers with colleagues, but never once crossed her mind to invite me. I felt heartbroken. One day, some year down the line, it hit me. I was done. I realized I was ready to let her go from my head. She will always be in my heart as one of the beautifulest and most inspiring people that had ever crossed my path. As I was letting her go, in that exact moment, I felt this, maybe a promise from a different timeline, a different life, that all we owe each other is a smile. It felt like my heart was freeing her of the responsibility of doing something for me, or being something for me, and she was freeing me of the burden of wanting something from her. She had crossed my path as I had crossed her. She had recognized me as I had recognized her. We smiled at each other with our hearts filled by the joy of recognition, and continued to walk, leaving each other behind. We would walk ages more before we'd meet again, but the joy of home will nevertheless be limitless. Maybe in a different life she had been my sister or my mother, but in this life she was meant to be a stranger to me and I to her. So I bet a lot of people had gone through this, and or maybe are going through this in their lives. And um I think the thing that changed everything for me was this realization, this thought that all of a sudden came to my mind, which was that all we owe each other is a smile. And and to me that meant that, you know, this girl, she doesn't owe me anything other than a smile. Even that, she doesn't owe me even a smile. But it seemed like this was an echo from a different time when we maybe have met. I mean, in I do believe in past lives. So in my system of beliefs, this is, I'm referring to that. So maybe when we had crossed paths in different lives, we were friends or we were something to each other, and then we established that in the future we wouldn't owe each other anything more than a smile, which is what we shared. We shared multiple smiles, and um and that's all it was ever going to be. Despite me at the time wanting to be friends with this girl, um, she was on her way, and it took a while for me to be on my way to realize um, that we were never gonna be friends, and that she was never meant to be my friend in this on this occasion, on this lifetime, in this incarnation. So um so the moment I realized that, I just was able to stop being angry with her, and kind of and let her go in a way from my mind and from my expectations, really. And I think it's important mm, to come to the realization that um liking someone, I mean, or appreciating someone, whether it's in a friendship way or in a romantic way, especially when it's in a romantic way, because those kind of feelings are maybe even more intense. Um, so when we have this appreciation towards someone, I think it's important to keep in mind not to become possessive, and not to want to grab that person to, as in to, as in to close them into our lives, um, and to just accept however they are, to accept them not liking us, to accept them not appreciating us, to accept them not wanting to be friends with us, because I've always actually said this, that if you like someone, you like someone. You liking someone shouldn't change based on whether they like you back or not, isn't it? I mean, for instance, if you like that someone is funny, or if you like that someone is smart, them not liking you back wouldn't change who they are, would it? So you're still gonna like them in theory, if you've truly liked them to begin with. So I guess I don't know why, or I haven't reflected long enough on this to come to a serious conclusion about why is it that the human instinct is to possess someone when they like that someone or that something, whether it's you know it could be an object. So I don't know why we have this instinct, but actually, true love, whether it's romantic love or friendship love, or human love in general, I think true love is allowing that person to be exactly who they are, and allowing them to be as free as they can be, and basically just as you would watch a flower, I'd say, probably like a beautiful flower. I mean, and obviously I'm not the first one saying this. It's so I guess maybe some people find it so boring that, oh, what is this girl telling me? She's repeating the same cliche of, oh, if you really like a flower, don't cut it, and blah blah blah. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I am boring like that. That is exactly what I'm saying. And as obvious as that cliche saying might be, it I didn't click with that idea until this moment that I spoke about. And it's always connecting it with the quote I started um, this episode with. It's always, or very often, I wouldn't say necessarily always, but it's very often that, when we least expect, or the person that we least expect um is gonna impact us in a way that completely transforms us. And this was a person like that. I mean, I really really admired this girl, and I appreciate her for so many things. And as a consequence, it made me reflect on things and change myself in ways that I was proud of. Um, so, but of course, sometimes people change our lives, uh, due to due to being unpleasant towards us. But it's still by, like, as the quote says, it is always an accident that saves us. So it's like the unexpected person ends up being, unexpectedly nice and changes your life, or they end up being unexpectedly, the unexpected person ends up being unexpectedly nasty, and but still changes your life as a consequence, and like changes your life to the better, I mean, because and I've certainly lived both scenarios. I One of the major changes in my life, a huge 180 career change that I took that I never ever anticipated, um, came as a consequence of one of these interactions. Um, so despite and it was actually an unpleasant interaction, and it was not because of the interaction, but it was or it was not to get away from the interaction by any means. Um, because the person was not in my life for a long time, but it was just someone from that life, from that professional life, that because they were treating me badly, it made me reflect on the whole career. It made me question myself, like, why am I doing this? And then it led to me completely changing that career, and actually changing it to a career that I was always meant to do, and it became so obvious to me. Um, and then there was this other thing that I reflected on, and it's also in relation to people and to this notion of being alone. So I it was also I was going through a also like a lonely period of my life, and from a social perspective, and I guess I just needed a friend. I haven't had a friend in a long time at that point. And I needed a friendship, and there was this colleague that I thought, we could be friends with. And I think it was because I was lonely that I didn't even stop for a second to actually ask myself if I appreciated that person, if I actually, um, yeah, enjoyed being in their company. I just made myself almost like convinced myself um, that I like what the things they were saying, or that I was interesting in the things they talked about, and in the things they were about as a person. And and it's funny because actually had they not uh, acted in a way that completely disappointed me, I would not have stopped to think about these things and to realize that, hang on a second, I never actually really liked this person. I don't know why did I even force myself to be friends with them, because retrospectively that's how it felt. It felt like, on realizing that I was not aligned with the person on in terms of probably in terms of anything really, but because I was lonely, I just, without realizing, I just made myself, I kind of tried to convince myself that I enjoyed their company when, you know, when in fact I wasn't. And it took, luckily, it took an action of their own, of this other person towards me that disappointed me, to wake me up. Um, so yeah, that's what I wanted to say, basically. And I guess this this being alone ties in nicely um with this other thing from my life that I reflected on. And I think it's connected in terms of that individual's journey. as in, as a human being, we're born alone, um, and um, in different periods of our lives, we are accompanied by, you know, several people or no people, and at times where our journey is shared in a joyful way, and at times we feel like we've been exiled. Um, so I guess that's how this other thing that I wrote is connected with this notion of um loneliness and with this notion of being around people. Um, because our lives are our lives would be completely something completely different if it were just us, just one person on the planet, wouldn't it? So I'm just gonna end by reading this other thing that I wrote while back. And yeah, that's it. I hope you found it interesting, or not. But I actually really enjoyed sharing this out there in the open and vast unseen. Okay, so it goes like this. It is 4:30 in southern Europe on a July day. I have just woken up from a nap I hardly wanted to take and am looking through this triple window, wooden type of window, romantically framed by this sheer curtain. It's been boiling all day outside. All summer, really. This is how summers are here, and now everything is calming down. It's quiet all around. The only thing I can hear, every now and then, regularly, is a breeze of air gently moving the vineyard leaves outside the window. There are some shades starting to appear, risen from the trees on the other side of our yard, sign that the sun is starting to slowly lower towards setting. I yawn, conceitedly as I am, and continue to stare blankly at the scene outside the window and within myself. My grandpa is laying awake as well in the other bed, placed in the room, T shape alignment with the bed I sleep in. I don't see him, but I can sense him, awake and calm as he was, and waiting, blue and calm as the sea, with this heartbreakingly sad but at peace kind of calmness about him, and forever waiting, as the sea. My grandma is still sleeping next to me, as she always was. I am not going to talk more about her, not now, not here, not yet. My brother is also sleeping, next to my grandpa, as always. I return my soul's attention back to the window and this little room. There is something magic, hypnotizing about this calmness, quietness that surrounds me, in harmony with the music of the summer's breeze. It's as if I am one with those leaves, and every breeze is directly touching my soul, while I lay on the altar at the feet of my father, the sun. My soul is healing. I'm ready to go outside, bare feet as always, and be myself, silly and happy. I'm such a silly, silly, happy little kid. I am 5, and obliviously, I have just lived one of the best days of my life. Next time I will remember this, I will be in my 30s. So there it is. I wish you happy Friday and a lovely weekend or a lovely day whenever it is that you're listening to this. And as always, just dream on.